So this is Pakistan Defense Force, and it's a very shady icon or display photo. Something like some dude with a mask on. This is obviously not the COVID mask on. It's just it's like a special operation, and I don't want to be found out kind of thing. But it's a very polite message though. It's saying hello everyone and good afternoon. Haris Bhai, meaning Haris' brother, we need to ask Armin why he talked negatively about Pakistanis on few occasions. Now, I don't know what he means by that. First of all, if I had to judge by his channel, his account's name and his profile photo, I would have thought, he's some nationalist, a big Pakistan Army fanboy. But why is he calling me a bhai? Because I don't attract those people. So I don't know, maybe he could be trapped. But he obviously is upset because you might have said something about Pakistanis at some point. What did you say, Armin? Why are you being so bigoted towards my fellow compatriots?
I don't know if I said anything bad about Pakistanis. I said something negative about Pakistan, and that's because Pakistan is a shithole. Is that not accurate? Am I wrong about that?
Oh yeah, so it's just one of those loaded terms that people get triggered, even though they know that it is a bad place to live in. Yeah, even though but people love their countries. It's just gotta be.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's why it hurts. That's why it hurts when they turn into shitholes because they love their country. If I go to my kitchen and if I find shit in my kitchen, I will also be upset because I like my kitchen. I don't say don't love your country. That's what because you're I know.
But would you say your kitchen is a shithole?
Where is a shithole?
In your kitchen, like if there's shit there, would you say it's a shithole?
No,
you might actually say.
I would say there's shit in my kitchen.
Yeah, I think you would say.
Well, here's how about this? I'm Iranian and Canadian. Okay, so Iran is one of my countries. Okay, how about this? As an Iranian, I would say Iran is a shithole. There you go.
And people have realized that, and I think, and here's the point. Look, to be honest, I don't care. I'm just saying to Pakistan Defense Force, you ain't finding any nationalist fervor or sentiment here. Like if people say shit, well, prove them wrong. But there's a point to be made by Armin Navabi that if he says that Iran is a shithole, and when enough people realize that their country is a shithole, then they do something about it. Then they get up, then they stand up, and then they protest and they raise their voice and they say, no longer are we going to let these people keep our country a shithole. And that's what people are doing. And they're paying the price with their lives. So we just basically spoke about it and we'll stitch up with this rest of the clip with this bit. So he's basically saying that, Pakistan has a lot. Yeah, okay, maybe we have certain elements which are shitty. But Pakistan also has a lot of music, culture, history, a lot of diversity, which is endangered, by the way. The Hindus and Christians of Pakistan, but never mind. But Armin makes it like we have no culture. How do you respond to that, Armin Navabi?
Well, first of all, I say Iran also has a lot of culture, a lot of music, and a lot of history. That doesn't.
Our culture is older than yours, though, by the way. We're the birthplace of civilization, the Indus civilization.
Sure. Actually, okay, I'm not a nationalist, but actually the birthplace of civilization.
Syria?
Okay, sure.
No, there's Indus. Indus
no, Bain al-Nahrain, which is like the, in Iraq, which is part of the Islamic Iranian Empire.
Fair enough. You can
sure, you can have that if you want. I don't care. I don't care about Asians.
But Indians keep telling you that you need to go back to your Persian roots.
Okay, that's actually a fair point. Like you're talking about India and Pakistan, which is like
the real India is in Pakistan right now. It was named Indus, an Indus River in Pakistan.
So actually, the Iranian Empire and the Indian Empire, which is civilization, along with China and Egypt, were the four main places in the world where civilization has started, right? But look at most of them, other than China, the three of them are shitholes. The three other ones are shitholes, right? So you talking about the fact that Pakistan had music, culture, and history, it's the same thing with Iran. That doesn't stop me from calling Iran. Currently, Iran is a shithole, even with its beautiful music, beautiful culture, and long history, ancient history. Right? It's currently a shithole. And also, the reason why I said Pakistan doesn't have its own music and culture and history, because that's India's music and culture and history. Okay,
and we don't like to admit that we're Indians.
Yeah. So yes, you have you have a lot
I
of
have an
music, a lot of
objection.
culture. Wait, hold on.
If
Let
you
me
want to
finish.
think of it, you have microcultures like within the larger borders.
Yes.
And when you split
True.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, true. Pakistan has a culture separate from India, okay? But most of that culture, the vast majority of Pakistan's culture that is not from its Indian culture is Islam. Vast majority of it. Right? Anything that makes Pakistani culture separate from Indian culture, I mean, more than 90% of that is Islamic culture. Is that not? Okay, so that's shit culture.
Well, no, I think it's different. I wouldn't put a percentage on that because it's difficult to say because we have a lot. No, probably can't even say that because Pakistani Islam is very different from the Arab Islam. And then we have a lot of elements in our culture which are deeply enshrined or embedded in the Indian or it comes from Indian culture, like beliefs in magic and superstition, and a lot of that, even though in some cases it is directly opposite to some Islamic beliefs. But so I think it's a bit of both. But the main problem here is, for example, like what this guy is saying, this is another very common fallacy people and Pakistan Defense Force. This is probably the reason why. Now, your attitude is actually very shitty as well, and this is probably the reason why the world is never going to respect your country, is because majority of Pakistanis actually genuinely believe. They say we're not, half of Pakistan is not of Indian descent. I would say 99% of us are of Indian descent. 99% of them. None of them have this. What do you call it? None of them have done this ancestry, the DNA test or whatever. Even some of the lighter skinned ones, like, because they like to believe this. They like to believe that, oh, we are Pakistanis are slightly have a lighter skin than the Indian counterparts. Again, I'm just saying the common notion that they have, as pathetic as it might be. But they said, oh, that's because they are Indians and we are Arabs. First of all, as if Arabs are Caucasians. They do say that. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's a major belief.
This is racism.
It's a major belief. Oh, yes, it's a major.
So wait, so racism is also part of Pakistan's culture.
Oh, yeah, big, and they're proud of that. They're massive. They are very proud of that. And for example, so there is no evidence to suggest that 80%, 90%, or 70% of us are Arabs or from Middle East or nothing. So how they go by is by the surnames, by caste surnames. So yeah, it's possible that when Muslims did come here, Muslims came here in a very, they were in a few thousands, okay? So even when they were ruling or whatever, like the Mongols or whatever, they were in a few thousand. But they married local women. So local women, so you might have lost their name, but you still have their DNA in you. And then over a number of generations, the very tiny little sperm of some Arabian Arab dude who had sex with our great grandmother. When we look at our DNA, it is negligible. So if majority of Pakistanis did their DNA test or something, I guarantee you there would be 99%. It would come up with 99% Indians.
I have a funny story for you.
Well,
go ahead, Armin.
Yeah.
Armin,
don't forget the funny story.
Yeah.
But they other than them being Arab, they also the ones who are not referring to being Arab, they are referring to the fact that there's some ethnic differences between Pakistan and India, okay? But there's also some ethnic differences within Pakistan itself and within India itself. Like, obviously, any geographical distance between any two group of people will make your ethnic. The fact that you care about that, the fact that you even think that matters, like, oh, we're different from them ethnically or the same. First of all, you're closer to Indians than you are to other people, even though there is some variation from other parts of, within India, there's variation in ethnic diversity within Pakistan, but you're just closer to Indians. Okay, within Iran, like if you go to the Western Iran to Eastern Iran, there's some ethnic diversity. Okay, but the diversity of like DNA pool, which is you shouldn't care about because it doesn't matter, within Pakistan is as diverse as it is in India. But the fact that you see your identity so tied into your ethnicity and wanting to separate yourself from the rest of India shows how much you put stock into something that has absolutely no value.
Is that akin to the Khalistani movement in
No,
India?
that's Punjabis. That's right. That's as Indian as they get.
Oh yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. Pashtuns, right? So
So I want to address this point. So it's a smarter, it's slightly better than what I thought.
Exactly.
And I'm sorry, I thought that you were talking about Arabs because that is a common belief amongst Pakistanis, but obviously Pakistan Defense Force is not one of them. But it's saying people like Balochs or people like Pashtuns are not Indians. Well, I'm sorry. I don't know how we're going to draw the line. I mean, well, South Indians could also say that we are nothing like the North Indians, or East Indians can also say we're nothing like. That is the whole beauty of it. When you think India, you think of India as something like, Dravidian Indians or like the Bollywood Indians, and then you said that is only India. India is an accumulation, amalgamation, or a melting pot of hundreds of ethnicities. So yeah, Balochs are also under Gupta Empire and the Maurya Empire as well. Balochis fell under that as well. So there were so many other points. Yes, they were independent as well at some point, and half of that fell into Persia and Iran and Persia as well. So all of that happened. So what would you call Balochs? Would you call them? Well, they were, they were Persians. No, or you said Pashtuns. They had Buddhist history, but Buddhism also originated from India. So and then this is the reason why a lot of Indians call. So all of that, you need to, first of all, as Pakistanis, we need to get this thing out of a mentality that being called Indian is not, and it's not a curse. It's not pejorative. It's not embarrassing. I for a very long time when I was Pakistani, when I came here, and obviously because brainwashing or something, when I was in university days, when someone would call me, "Oh, are you an Indian?" I'd be like, "No, I'm a Pakistani," and they'd be like, and a white person would be like, "All right, sure, you're all the same," which is a fair enough point. We do look the freaking same. Pashtuns can also fall under. You could say Afghans, and yeah, okay. If you go to northern parts of, Gilgit-Baltistan or something, they look half Asian, half Pashtuns. So yeah, there are different ethnicities. How we define India? We define India, as I said, we were called India because of the Indus River. It's got nothing to do with the rest of huge India that is today. That is India today, but they call it India. So like this region, subcontinent. It's an accumulation, it's an amalgamation of many ethnicities. So there's nothing bad about being called in India.
This comment by Pakistani Defense Force is actually very shamefully embarrassing, because like the idea of you not being Indian because you're Pashtun, it's kind of like saying like you're not American because you're black or because you're Latino. Or you're not, or you're saying like, oh, most of Iran is not like Baluchi, so like, oh, like I'm not Iranian because I'm Baluchi, or I'm not Iranian because like we have Arab Iranians. Are they not Iranians because they're Arab? Like we have like Baluchis in Iran and in Afghanistan and in Pakistan. Tell me that like then what? Like then what is the difference with what is it like? The ethnic identity and the fact that they belong to a country is nothing to do with each other.
Exactly. That's exactly the point. And this is the point. Khadija doesn't get it. Looking same doesn't mean you're the same. Is a Chinese person the same as Japanese? If throughout most of the history, like the region of Vladivostok, it's been going between Russia and China for a very long time. And if you go by the actual appearance, most people some look more Chinese than Russians or Far East Asians. But then now it is Russia, and the people there, they're called Russians. So it only goes by the actual identity is given by the actual civilization or society that's been created, or the government that's been created around it, or the empire that's been created around it. So if Pashtuns have fallen under India throughout most of their history, yeah, you could say that they're ethnically Pashtuns, but that falls under the Indian bracket because, as I said, South Indians look or have nothing in common with North Indians, for example, or Kashmiris, for example. So why but they're both called Indians. Why should they be called Indian? So that's not how nationalities work.
Yeah, I mean, is a Japanese American not American?
Michio Kaku, he's an American Japanese, but his kids, I'm sure they're just like, oh, ethnically I'm Japanese, but I'm an American. So yeah.
Wait, there was this. Darko is saying this tribal thinking is so damn toxic. Yes,
it is. It's just I can't wait to just wake up in 100 years' time and say, like, all these racial and ethnic differences, they're just out. They're like, people just don't care about that. It just doesn't matter.
Bassem has a question, but let's go to Zagros first before
Zagros, funny story. Zagros had a funny story.
It's not just a matter of feeling as well. Like, it's really deeply ingrained in our genome. We have that propensity for tribalism, and it proves to be useful. It is useful in that across time and geographies, humans vary drastically in how they think, in how they reason, in how they act and behave and eat and sleep. And unless we are really clones, you really cannot have that global perfect ideal Smurf village. But anyways, to my funny story. So, and it really relates to what you are talking about. I had this friend from Karachi, Pakistan. He was telling me a little bit about his past, as I told him about mine. And it turns out his family back in the time came from India to settle into Pakistan. I said, oh, so you guys were like Indians? And he said, no, we're not Indians. We are Urdu speaking. So I don't know if he made that up, but he told me that basically they were these people, this tribe or whatever, whose name is Urdu speaking. So they are not Indian.
Well, let's actually be more fair. I want to be more fair to Pakistan Defense Force. I'm going to steel man his position. Okay. If we're saying Indian.
By the way, hello.
Oh, hi. Hello. If we say Indian is a nationality, okay. So we were assuming we were talking about Indian as like a mix of different ethnicities and cultures and languages and many other things, right? Which is like a soup of different many things. But if you talk about Indian as a nationality, then yeah, Pakistanis are not Indian because we're using the nation state definition, and you need to be a citizen of India to be an Indian.
I was about to address that. I was about to address that. So here is this problem here, yeah. So obviously, when languages, there's always a gray area when we go from one region to another region, and then those languages are similar, but at some point they become vastly different. And obviously, they're not at the border region. They're not the same. For example, border region Baloch people would be a lot similar to border region of Sindh people. Now, Sindh people, now the other end of the Sindh spectrum, which is closer to India, they would be a lot closer to that. So the difference would be far bigger. So, and again, this is why I brought in the historical context that, okay, so when we go back to the Maurya Empire, we go back to Gupta Empire, we just look at those. Okay, what were the border regions of that? What were the commonalities between the food and culture and so many other things? So, and he's saying that I don't say that these that you're ashamed, but I'm just saying I'm addressing this general issue that in Pakistan, and you would know that too, Pakistan Defense Force, people for a very long time see that as an insult. That, oh, hey, you're an Indian. No, I'm not an Indian. It's been like that for a very long time. But as you grow up, as you become more, the only way to get rid of this ethnic racial hatred is like when you can adopt, when you can zoom out a little bit and you look at the whole world as one nationality or one group of people. When you become a truly globalist person, it doesn't really matter. Like, I mean, when I assume the identity of a global citizen, which is a bit of a luxury, I guess, but once you assume that, you really don't see any difference. When I go to Italy, when I look at a brick that was laid like 2,500 years ago by some Roman slave, maybe, I'm like, I look at it, oh wow, my fellow human actually laid that brick down. And it just doesn't matter. I'm not looking at it in terms of, hang on, what language he spoke or what did he believe in or what. All of that actually goes away. So for a very long time, there's people, I think Sam Harris used to talk about this, but then he gave up on that idea because he was pestered by so many people for a very long time that, Sam Harris used to say, well, what's the point of looking at these IQs between amongst different racial groups. So people kept saying, but hang on, it's just science. Saying, like, well, why should we not learn about it? But I get it. So there's actually no point in assuming this. And this is why I'm very anti-culturalist.
Wait,
I'm very
what?
anti... huh?
Wait, there is no point in assuming what?
Assuming different cultures, or assuming or accepting these different ethnic identities. I'm very anti-culturalist. I'm very
there's no need for it, but there's also scientific, like evidence that there
but it's
are
redundant.
these differences.
But yeah, of course, but it's redundant in the modern day and age. I don't have
It's
to
not,
wear.
It's important because at large scales, when you talk about these large societies now that we have built up of tens of millions, hundreds and millions of people, at the extremes, those differences create like huge disparities. So we need to know about those differences,
No, I'm not
because we
saying that. You're
also
not
have to
understanding what I
address
said.
those
You're not understanding what I
disparities.
said. Zagros, you didn't understand what I said.
Huh.
I said we don't need to assume them. Assume is not the assumption. Assume, this is assume, meaning we don't have to. We don't have to take it as a badge. We don't have to put it on our forehead that, hey, I'm proud to be Pakistani, I'm proud to be Pashtun or Baloch or Kurd or whatever. I'm saying that is redundant in the modern globalist world. It has absolutely zero significance. This is why I'm saying I'm anti-culturalist. I'm anti-nationalism. I'm anti, some sort of ethnic superiority. And people talk about, oh, we need to preserve these ancient cultures or whatever. Sure, I mean it is a bit inconvenient to say this, but I don't give two damns.
To have your questions answered on the next live stream, become my patron today. You can do so with as little as $1 a month. Link in the description below.